Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Red Sox video. As always, we are here to report on anything and everything happening with the Red Sox, good and bad. And of course, another person falls to the IL. This time, it is our boy Dustin May. He is out on an injury so close to the playoff season. Hopefully, we can recover from this. But as always, I say, from the ashes rises a phoenix, and this is in the form of our very young player, a lefty pitcher, Connelly Early. We're really excited to see this newcomer make his MLB debut. He's a really exciting person to see play. And Brandon and I, as always, are here to give our thoughts about it. Brandon, I'm going to toss it over to you. What do you think of Mr. Early?
Yeah, he's obviously he doesn't have quite the prospect type that Peyton Toley did, right? Obviously, that was a big debut. I mean, he top pitching prospect in the system, a guy who had a meteoric ascension since being drafted. He's obviously been pretty darn great since coming to the major leagues. Early is not quite the same prospect. His stuff isn't quite as electric. There's a few more question marks, but he's still a really good pitch. Again, that's more of a credit to Tolley than it is a slight against Early. And we saw it in his debut against the Athletics. Now, obviously, Oakland or Sacramento or whatever city they're playing in at this point, they don't have the best team. Their lineup isn't great. They have some good hitters. Nick Kurtz. They have Jacob Wilson, the rookie shortstop. I mean, they have some really talented players. It's not the best lineup, but I mean, that's one of the best debuts Connelly Early just had in Red Sox history, really. Through five scoreless innings, he struck at 11 players, which I believe is a team record for a rookie debut. I mean, he was dominant on the mound. And I think, obviously, again, we've talked about this, Ethan, you and I have pretty much all year, where the Red Sox rotation has been Garrett Crochet as a lefty and then a whole bunch of righties for the most part. I mean, it's, Brian Bale, Lucas Giolito, Walker Bueller, Hunter Dobbins, Richard Fitz. I mean, just righties after righties after righties. And now all of a sudden with Early and Tolley, you have three really good left-handed pitchers in the rotation. This is sort of what we've been preaching all year, where these guys were moving up in the system. They were proliferating through the minor league ranks. And now we're sort of, reaping the labors or the fruits of those labors. So I'm really impressed with him. Again, that's a really strong debut, especially he was on the road. Yeah, obviously, the Athletics are not playing in like a real stadium right now. And they don't have a ton of fans going to their games, but it's still a debut on the road on the West Coast against the Major League Baseball team and Early dominated. I'm really, really impressed with him.
Yeah, again, we said this in another video, but this is a key time to be playing in the major leagues. It's not the start of the season. It's not even the middle of the season anymore. It is nearing the end of the season, and we are playoff contenders at this point. And to get the call up, like Early did, the front office and Alex Cora really must think highly of him. And again, like you said, playing against the Athletics, they're not like the greatest team in baseball, but again, to strike out as many players as you can, as Early did, again, no pun intended, as early on in his MLB career as he did, is very impressive, I will say. He had 2 years from his college signing onto the Red Sox to really develop himself in the minor leagues and to make his debut again so close to October and to the playoffs is incredible to me. I will also say again, you and I, like you said, have been preaching that we have needed kind of lefty pitchers this whole season. It cannot all weigh on Garrett Crochet's shoulders. So I think this is also relief for Garrett Crochet, which is very exciting. There is slight worry for me again that we lose Dustin May because of this injury. But again, the Red Sox are used to this at this point. We are injury bound almost every year. Something always happens. We push our players to the limits. It's just who we are in Boston. At the end of the day, we're smart about this. We saw it during our trades. We didn't make a lot of moves because we believe in our farm system. And so this was kind of the right move that happened at the right time. And I'm curious to see who's going to come back and when. But for now, all signs are pointing that Early's going to stay for a little bit. And again, we'll see how he does once we move on from the athletics games and we move on to a little bit more heavy hitters like the Yankees and so on and so forth. But I'm pretty confident in him right now as a player.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, again, with these young guys, there's innings limits that you have to worry about, and how are they going to respond to playoff baseball, as a young pitcher. hopefully, obviously we expect that Early and Tully have the attitudes to survive in October, but so you never know until you're actually there. But again, like we've been saying, it was a really impressive debut. I will note that obviously the Dustin May injury does hurt the team, not just because obviously he was good starting pitching depth, maybe he could have been a piece in the bullpen, but obviously because it's probably the end of his Red Sox tenure unless he makes a quick return and maybe he pitches in the bullpen in October, in the postseason. This is going to go down as a pretty rough trade for the Red Sox. Obviously, they traded Tibbs, who was one of the big prospects they got back for Devers, with the hopes that they could, work with May, turn him back into one of the starting pitcher he looked like with the Dodgers early in his career, maybe re-sign him, maybe keep him in Boston for a bit. This injury probably puts a wrench in those plans. Probably makes the trade a loss for the Red Sox. Again, Tibbs was probably never going to play in Boston. He was, very superfluous with a very outfield heavy, farm system and major league team, but it's still a pretty disappointing trade. At the end of the day, if this is the end for May. I'll also note that beyond this move of shuffling Early in for May, Kyle Harrison was called up. He was another prospect acquired in that Devers trade, or not a prospect anymore, but a young starting pitcher acquired in that Devers trade. He's going to make it, he's going to get his first looks in Boston soon. He's another left-handed pitcher. Again, it feels like Boston's been very purposeful about acquiring, those guys recently. So hopefully he has a strong debut, whether it's as a starter, a long reliever out of the bullpen. But as always, we'd love to hear your comments on this sort of topic on what's happening with Dustin May. Is this really the end for him in Boston? Are you hoping that maybe he'll come back or be re-signed? How impressed were you with Early in his debut? Obviously, it was very impressive, but do you expect him to keep this up? Are you hoping he makes the playoff rotation? Let us know, and as always, we'll try to respond to every comment.